This video that I'm making is going to be concerning two videos on Netflix. Netflix right now is bringing the heat. The first video I've ever watched on Netflix that I liked and that really made me cry was the Khalif Browder story. And that was just about the young guy in New York who he stayed in jail for 3 years. 2 of them he was in solitary confinement, and he didn't do anything. He couldn't get a trial date. He didn't have a bond, nothing. Like, he didn't do anything to be where he was at. But he was falsely accused of stealing something from some I think he was Latino, but it wasn't true. So I really want y'all to go see that, because I don't really want to explain that one, because today I'm really trying to focus on the Central Park 5. I think it's called When They See Us. That I really want to focus on, because that I watched that documentary, the Central Park 5. I watched that documentary like, I want to say about 4 to 6 years ago. I really don't remember how long ago it was, but I remember I watched it. Me and my husband watched it on PBS. When I tell you, tears, the injustice that them young men endured was just, it was crazy. And although the documentary was really profound to me, man, when I seen the movie on Netflix, I'm going to tell y'all, I was crying, because the movie allows you to see the personal part. The documentary just gives you an overall view of like how everybody in New York felt, how, you know, they treated the young boys, about the prosecutors, the police, Donald Trump. It was just telling you about all these different people, which is like the overview of the Central Park 5, just getting you to know, like, back in 1989, how America was. But when you watch this movie on Netflix, Lord, like, I want to start off with the characters. The characters that portrayed Antron, Cory, Raymond, Yusuf, what was the other boy's name? Kevin. Those were all the guys. Those characters made you feel as if you was truly watching those, like, their real life. I want to start off with, I think his name is Jarrell. He played as Cory, which was the oldest guy. Like, at first, I did not have an understanding of why his character was acting like that. I was like, dude's a little off. I don't know why he's acting like that. But when you actually hear Cory talk in real life, and you actually see his mannerisms in real life, you like, dude bodied this character. Jarrell, what's his name? Jarrell Jerome, or I think that's his name. He bodied that character. Like, you thought he was Cory. Period. If I was to see him walk down the street, I would think he was Cory. And it was just like the intensity of him going. He played from young Cory to old Cory. So just the intensity that he put in him as a young man up to him being as an adult. That's what I'm going to say. Dude bodied that character. Kevin, he did good too. The character who played Kevin, he did really good too. Yusuf did good, but for some reason, it just like Cory's character just bodied. Okay, so I'm gonna get into it. What I did not like was the parents. Everybody's saying the cops and the prosecutors and the people. I did not like the parents. First of all, the only parent that did what she was supposed to do was Yusuf's mom, which I think Yusuf was like 15. And his mom was like, he ain't signing nothing. He ain't going to admit to nothing. You trying to talk to my son while I'm not there? Come on. So she took her son out there. So he was the only one that didn't have a confession. He was the only one that didn't have a confession. But the other guys physically named him as being there. So that's the only reason why he got caught up in that. And what else about the parents that upset me was Antron's daddy. Okay. Antron's dad. Antron was I think he wanted to be like a baseball player or something. So his dad had been in jail a long time ago. And when the police officers brung up his criminal record, his dad began to be selfish and was like, oh, I understood where he was coming from, because he's like, I'm a working man. And if I don't work, I can't provide for my family. But why would you sit up there and make your 14-year-old son lie about something that he didn't do? You know, as a parent, that you would not want your child to lie to you about anything. So why would you make him lie to the police officers? He was like, just tell them what they want to hear so we can get up out of here. First of all, you should know your rights. You should know your son's rights. And if your son's sitting up there telling you, Dad, I did not do it, then you should tell him, you know what, son, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get up out of here. You ain't do it. Let's go. But instead, he got mad at him and forced that little boy to say that he did it. Okay, another parent, Raymond's daddy, Raymond Sr. This guy, so worried about going to work, he's going to leave his non-speaking English mama to handle business with these cops. She don't know what's going on. She don't understand what they're talking about. So they politely walk her out the room, and they start harassing dude's son. I was like, why would you leave your mama? Okay, this is one day that your job can wait. This is one day that you need to say, you know what, my son got put into some stuff that he didn't do. I'm down at the police station. I can't come into work. Your child should be your first priority. I understand providing, but that was something serious. They was saying that your son raped somebody. He's going under the jail. So, who else's mama? Cory's mama. I was over her character. Even though Niecy Nash she's an amazing actress. She did her part. Because I was so done with his mama. I was like, Lord, what? Ugh. I was done. I was over his mama. Kevin's mom, she was sick. So she really, you really can't fault her. And then his sister, she had some knowledge, but it's the police. You can't go against the police. But that movie captured so much. It is such a eye-opening series, because it shows you how if the police get you, that you should not sign nothing. Don't sign no paper. Don't say you did nothing. It don't matter how bad they beat you. Don't say you did nothing. Because what was crazy, once they got the trial and all they had was these little young boys' confessions, that's all they wrote off of. Like, if you watch the documentary, they spoke to one of the jurors, and he was like, we knew the police was lying through their teeth. We knew that the evidence was pointing that they didn't do it. But he said, why would somebody get on tape and lie? Why would somebody write down some stuff and lie? First of all, Cory's character, Cory was not deaf, but he had a hearing problem. And he also had a learning disability. So he really couldn't read that good. And for you to write some stuff down and tell this little boy to sign it and he can't even read, you was wrong. And for his mama to know that he really couldn't read, that could have been her defense. Like, Cory can't read. He don't know what he was signing. He don't know what he was agreeing to. And that would have been good. But his mom didn't fight for him like that. Nobody really fought for this young man. And what really was sad about Cory's story is because when they went to the park, because around Central Park, when they went to the park, Cory left. He wound up leaving. He was like, I ain't dealing with this. I'm going home. So he wound up leaving. So whenever the police officers was like, arrest every African-American male between the ages of 14 and 18 or whatever, arrest all of them. and bring them down here. Hold on. So whenever they went to go pick up Yusuf, he was with Cory. Now they told Cory, like, you know, his name's not on here, just let him go. But then he was like, or you can go down here with your friend and just, you know, be support. So Cory wasn't even supposed to be in none of this. He had nothing to do with none of it. And it was sad because when he got down there, he got the most time. He got beat in prison. Like, so much stuff happened to him in prison, and it all dwindles down to Yusuf, him just trying to be there for a friend. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Cory Story by itself, his story could have been the whole freaking series, because it was sad. The whole series was sad. It was an eye opener. It, like, the lady who directed this, she put her foot in this movie. That's all I'm going to say. She put her foot in this movie because, like I said, I watched the documentary, and to see the back end off of their lives, of what they dealt with getting out. Like Raymond, whenever he got out of jail, he the guy was explaining to him, he was like, have you ever filled out an application? And he was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna teach you. You gotta think, he was 14 years old. The majority of them was 14 years old. They weren't filling out no applications. So he was like, all right, I'm gonna teach you. So he was like, well, you're gonna have to check the box felon. And he was like, you see that guy back there? He's a felon. So when the employer looks at this paper and see that you're a felon and that they already hired a felon, you can't work back there. So whenever you write on this paper that you have stage 3 or something, like for rape, he's like, they can't put you in the front counter because you'll be coming in direct contact with women. And he was like, then you can't work there. And so he's like, so what am I supposed to do? And he was like, find a place that will hire you. And he was taking showers with his boxers on. He wanted to be isolated in his room by himself. He couldn't be, his communication skills wasn't there. And like Antron, Raymond, Kevin, and Yusuf, they all got like their high school diplomas and they got a college degree. And then Antron, he I think he got a trade or something. When he got a trade, he was making 30 cents an hour. 30 cents an hour. That's all he was making when he was in jail. And in Cory, he didn't have the opportunity to get a high school diploma or to get a GED or to even get a college certificate. He did not have the opportunity to do any of that. He was too busy getting beat up and standing in solitary confinement and going crazy. He done got stabbed. He done got jumped on numerous occasions. He done swapped jails just so he can get closer to his mama. And even when he swapped the jails, he never got close to his mama. Like, they kept sending him further and further away. Like, just his story alone, like, I could just sit here and talk about Cory's story, because just his story alone is just, like, it brings tears to your eyes. I watched it with my husband. And my husband was like, he went through that. No, he didn't, like, go down for some rape, but he was like, I know what it feels like to be handcuffed to a chair, to be young, to not know your rights, and for them to put some stuff on you. He's like, they put 2 charges on him that he didn't have nothing to do with. They ain't never been there, don't even know what they talking about. He had 2 charges that they told him to cop to, that if he copped to them 2 charges, that they'll send him home. He said that's what they told him. And he was like, I understand. Like, he was watching it and he was just like connecting with it, because he's like, man, I know what that feels like to be young and not know your rights, and you cop into stuff that they're telling you, okay, if you cop to this, you're going to go home. Just imagine you being a young boy and you like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. I just want to go home. So you signing stuff and you saying, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, I was there, just so you can go home, and you don't even get the opportunity to go home. Like my husband said, once you sign on that paper a confession, you don't get to go home. But if them little boys would have knew that, they wouldn't have been in the situation they was in, because none of it Nothing pointed to them. They didn't know where the woman was. They didn't know who the woman was. They didn't know what the woman had on. They know nothing about that woman, but they all said that they was there. Because the police told them to say they was there. And then, so, Reyes is the guy's last name who actually did it. He was the East Side rapist. They had him in custody at the same time that they had the 5 boys in custody. But they done did so much lying and so much manipulating to the system that they couldn't even say, you know what, we made a mistake. Let's try this guy. They just was like, no, it was them. And then he did something separate. So, like, 13 years after the fact, he comes out like, you know, I got saved. I'm trying to live right. I'm trying to right my wrongs. I'm going to be in jail. I think he had like 33 and a third years in jail or something like that. Excuse me. So he was like, I'm trying to right my wrongs and, you know, get it together. I want to confess to them that I did it. Now, the police was like, he knew stuff that nobody knew. He knew stuff that the cops was thinking but wasn't sure. Like, he told them about the keys. He told them about the Walkman. He told them about what he hit her in the head with. He told them about him taking her shoes off. He told him where he drags her from. Like, he knew everything. He knew stuff that wasn't even in the paper. He told them about him trying to steal her keys and get her address to go to her house, but couldn't. Like, he knew so much stuff about it that they could not deny that he was the rapist, like, that he did it. But yet it's still him admitting, like, I did this by myself. They had nothing to do with it. I don't even know them boys. They still was like, oh, he was the 6th person. What? You just ruin these guys' lives. And then, over top of that, the boys never knew each other. Forgot to mention that at the beginning. The guys never knew each other. They all were just out being kids and running around, going up to Central Park, and they never knew each other. So it was like when the police was trying to place like puzzle this together, they was like, oh yeah, you know, the kid with the box, was he the one that dragged her? Well, you know, the little Latino boy, was he the one who hit her? Like, just putting words in their mouth, and they're like, oh yeah, the tall guy was the one. Oh yeah, the guy that did this. They never knew each other's names. They never met each other. Only 2 of them knew each other, and that was Yusuf and Cory. And like I said, Cory wasn't even supposed to be there. He had nothing to do with it, even though they had nothing to do with it. But I'm saying, like, when the police was going around picking all these kids up, Cory's name wasn't on the list. He wasn't even supposed to be there. So for him to go there trying to be a friend to Yusuf, and he get the longest amount of time, he gets hurt the most. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I cried like a baby when I watched that. And then to hear my husband's story, him say, I copped to some stuff I didn't do because they told me to. I cried listening to him. Like, and when my husband was watching it, he started getting teary-eyed because he was like, I know how that feels. So I'm going to just say this. Sit down, watch the Khalif Browder story. That right there will take you all the way out. When I say take you out, that story will take you out. Watch that. And watch When They See Us. And watch the Central Park 5 documentary. When you watch those 3 things, then sit your child down. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. Sit them down and teach them their rights. And if you don't know, look it up. And tell them you're not like everybody else. Your little white friends, you're not like them. You can't do what they do. At a young age, teach them that. I have to teach my daughters that. Sarah, your little white friend Sarah, you're not like her. You can't do what she do. There's going to be certain stuff that she can do that she can get away with. And there's going to be certain stuff that you cannot do. I hate that for you, but that's what it is. And then I'm going to have to teach my sons. Brody and them, you can't do what Brody do. Sit yourself down. Relax yourself. You going to school to learn, not to turn up, not to get lit, not to wow out, whatever you want to call it. You're at school to learn. School's a privilege. Teach them when they get pulled over by cops. If the cops arrest them and take them down to the station, don't say nothing until your parent get there. Don't say nothing until your parent bring a lawyer. Don't sign nothing. Don't confess to nothing. None of the above. So I'm going to end this video. I didn't mean for it to take 20 minutes, but that is something that I really think that y'all should watch. Best thing I've seen in a long time. Thank you for tuning in.